Minnesota, because you have all done so much to try to address this challenge, that it continues to be an issue. And we also know that if you're not connected, you're not connected to healthcare and employment and education. And that's why we push so hard on this. Immediately, what I've been working on with expanding access and getting the work done that we need to get done is, first, with the Reconnect program, we got to get that money spent. We got to get that money out the door, and that is, I'm frustrated that hasn't happened yet. We keep on pushing on that, and that will be one thing. We also have some provisions that we're working on through the various packages that are out there. Some have been accomplished, some not yet. I've been supportive of the library stabilization program, which would help libraries to expand access through hotspots and others, kind of like in this emergency, a solution. Been working with Senator Klobuchar to help do other work to kind of build out emergency response. But that's, of course, sort of in the moment responding to an emergency and not addressing the underlying challenge. The CARES Act package included, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of $375 million for broadband. Lots of that was focused on what we could do around telehealth and also the RUS broadband pilot program. These are all good efforts, and we just need to keep on pushing on them as we move forward. And I would just point out to everybody that while we are waiting to negotiate on this, what I think is an urgently needed next round of help to Minnesota families and businesses and farmers and across the board for the CARES Act, we had good provisions, good proposals in the Big Heroes Act that passed the House back in May. And we should be using that as at least as a starting point for how to move forward. So I'm a little frustrated that we're not moving ahead in the ways that we need to. One good thing I will say coming out of this emergency and this crisis is that we've seen a dramatic expansion of telehealth as we've loosened up, provided waivers for how reimbursement will work for telehealth, both for physical health as well as for mental health. It's being used increasingly for occupational therapy and other kinds of healthcare provisions. And this is, I think it's going to be really important that we keep this going as we emerge from this crisis. And I think that will also be a tool in our toolbox for helping people to understand how important it is that we have access, that we keep on pushing on access to broadband. But as we think about emerging from this crisis and where we go from here, I am very excited about a full court press on connecting everybody in this country to broadband and thinking about the power of the federal government to make this happen. We all know that there are just a myriad of federal programs. It's not coordinated. There's not a federal strategy. And as a result, it's extremely complicated and hard to pull all together. So I'm excited about the proposals that have been put out there by the American Connection Project. There are, I think there are almost 50 organizations, including the Minnesota Farmers Union. I saw Stu on the call, that are calling for really three things that I think you all know because it's what the work is that you've been doing. The first is we need one person at the federal level, I think in the White House, that is coordinating and serving kind of as the czar for finally getting where we need to go on broadband, just like we did with rural electrification 100 years ago. Coordinating and pulling together all of these disparate federal efforts, making sure that we're doing exactly what we should be doing, and then putting out a big goal of making sure that everyone is connected. Second of all, the second part of the proposal that I think is absolutely right is making sure addressing the mapping problem that we know we still have. I've talked to so many Minnesotans who said they look at the map and the map says that they're connected because one person in their census tract has a connection, but nobody else does, and they don't have it. So getting the mapping right, I think, is the second thing. And then the third thing is the right level of funding at the federal level to fund the kind of what I think should be public-private partnerships to get broadband built out every place. And just as we do with electricity, so I believe we need to do with broadband. And that really kind of comes back to all of you and all of your different organizations, the work that you've been doing for a long time to